happening. You're trying to figure out ultimately what is.
It's still a mystery as to why it took them. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lauren Conlin, and with me is my favorite prosecutor or former prosecutor, Jarrett Ferrantino. Hey, Jarrett.
Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, everyone.
I'm going to check the chat. This is so fun. Oh, all the faves are here. Sal, Sheila,
good.
Dizzy. I love it. I'll wait for a few more people to join in. I'm very excited. I feel like such a suburban mom, even though I'm a city mom. I got this new Stanley that holds hot coffee because I didn't have one, and I'm so excited.
Well, we have a million Stanleys in my house. My little girl, for whatever reason, she gets into everything, and that was her for a couple of weeks. She was big into Stanleys, so we have a lot of those.
They're good. They're really good. Hey, Afton, how are you? Yeah, they're really good. So I'm fielding some stuff right off the bat this morning. I haven't even really, I feel like, looped you in. But I started covering this case out of Utah, David Lee Hamlin. It's really sick. I have 2 audio episodes on Pop Crime TV, like where I research, and I've just now started to reach out to the sheriff's office and some of the prosecutors involved. And I've had some survivors of David Lee Hamlin also reach out to me. But anyway, this guy was arrested in 2012. The charges were dropped 2 years later. Very suspect, Jarrett. They said not enough evidence. And these charges, there were 18 different counts of like child grape type of thing. He was this Mormon therapist, but he lost his license. He was accused of worshiping in the Church of Satan. And Sheila, thank you so much for listening to them and saying that they're good. But it's more than that, Jarrett. There's a tangled web of people that you wouldn't even realize are connected. Like if you've heard about Nicholas Rossi, Nicholas Oliverdian, the guy that Arthur Knight that changed his name and was extradited. Okay, he's connected to this. It's crazy.
The Church of Satan always gets a bad rap, I feel like. With God.
Oh, yeah, right? I mean, God, it's
well, Lauren, I will check out. I must confess, I've been like checked out for a little bit, and I will catch up with those shows and would love to talk to you about it. I saw them dropping. I saw that you had those coming, and I often listen. I just want to make sure I get up to speed and would be happy to talk about it with you.
Okay. And so Marshall, yes, part 2, I give you a lot more information, but I still have so much more because after he's arrested in 2022, David Lee Hamlin, with more charges, because it's kind of like the Diddy situation. As soon as he gets arrested again, more people come forward. It's been 3 years, Jarrett. They couldn't find a prosecutor to prosecute them. All of a sudden they have 3 that I'm looking at. And his pretrial hearing is this month. I am just terrified because I don't think that this is a judge, by the way, who saw these slew of allegations against him, child grape, child automy, ritualistic stuff, and said, hey, you know what? He's a good candidate to be out on bail while he waits for.
So he's on bail right now.
Oh, yeah. He's out on bail. I mean, so yeah, it's concerning. But anyway, I went on this show last night called Quite Frankly, and he does a lot of conspiracy-esque topics. And listen, Jarrett, I sound crazy when I talk about this case, which is why I don't talk about it very much. And it's also so disgusting and horrific that you can't even believe it. So when I went on his show, I was graphic. He told me I could be graphic. And now my phone is blowing up. I'm getting emails from people sending me some interesting things about the case, but also people who are like, we need to talk because they're coming after me now. And I'm like, great, bring it on, because I think these people are hiding something. There's corroborating and circumstantial evidence all behind it, because it's too much to talk about here. But I would implore you and everyone else to go and check out the 2 episodes. Do your own research as well, because it's a crazy story.
Well, let's do this. I will look into it and we will follow up on it. I'll be happy.
Amy was there last night.
If I could keep you out of any trouble that you may be getting yourself into, Oklahoma, Tennessee, why not Utah now? Throw that right into the mix, and Manhattan too.
Please, yeah, keep me out of trouble. Like I said, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm in a place where I don't know. I wish this is one of those cases, Jarrett. Like, I actually wish I could go be there for the pretrial hearing. I've reached out to a bunch of local reporters. Wait, hold on. So Amy was there last night, and quite frankly, and it was like the most insane chat. Like, it was. I mean, people didn't think I was crazy, which was great. I was like, wow. And there was like 1,000 people. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to get one or two people but no, not even one person. I reached out to Fox 13 in Utah, and I'm like, please, I would love to talk to anyone who will be in the courtroom for this. I need to know, I need to hear. And again, it's taken 3 years to get to a pretrial, Jarrett. It's nuts. So
I'm going to look into it and see what's going on. I want to see what happened back in 2012 too. What is the relation to the new charges to that? All that stuff. So let's definitely follow up on it. I want to check that.
Let me just tell you, 2012, his own daughters came forward. They have a recording of him apologizing for raping her. And then in 2003, when he was going through a divorce, there was this custody battle, and he was founded to have it was literally conclusively founded that he abused sexually and physically his daughters, also administered peyote for ritualistic purposes. He was never prosecuted. This guy, when I tell you, the Mormons, the Jesus Christ Church of Latter-day Saints, and what they do behind closed doors, they have people everywhere. You know that. I mean, it's just so insane. And it's so frustrating to think about. Oh, Dizzy, you joined late. Sorry. Dizzy's like, oh, sorry. I'm talking about David Lee Hamlin. I did 2 episodes on him. I've been posting about him on Twitter as well. Look it up. I have a playlist on my Pop Crime TV YouTube. But Jarrett, just listen to it. I know you're busy, so listen to it on like double speed. You'll get the idea.
I can't handle it in double speed. I got to listen to it regular speed. I'll listen to it. Don't worry. I promise you. And I'll definitely look into everything you said and the conspiracy stuff. I got to say, of all, I watch these hearings, the confirmation hearings, not to get total political, but I do watch and listen to these hearings. And they asked RFK Jr. if he was a conspiracy theorist. And I thought about the irony, because conspiracy theories were born out of the assassination of his uncle. And to ask him, a Kennedy, if he's a conspiracy theorist, when things have been uncovered and withheld in that very investigation, I thought was an interesting question. So the fact that you run, his answer was, I've been called it was a great answer. Actually, it was probably his best answer. He said, I was called a conspiracy theorist when I said, certain red dyes in food cause cancer. That's been proven. I was called a conspiracy theorist when I said, despite getting the COVID vaccine, I think you could still get COVID. And something else that subsequently was proven to be true. So he cited the three instances where he was correct. This is not an RFK plug. Definitely a fascinating, interesting guy, but I just thought when you said conspiracy theorist, I was like thrown right back into his hearing when he was asked that.
And it's funny that you bring that up, because I was actually looking into the papers that he filed with his wife, or I guess he was the plaintiff, she was the defendant, back, I think, 2011 during their divorce. It's wild. I mean, there's a lot of different accusations going around, and I don't think people also realize that Jeffrey Epstein, and I talked about this the other night too with Steve from Publicly Buzzed, but RFK was good friends with Jeffrey Epstein because Ghislaine was good friends with Mary. So he had to come out and say, like, yeah, I've flown on his jet before, but my whole family has flown on his jet. So it's not, But
he's
anyway,
also a falconer, which is even the most bizarre thing, and other things. I don't want to turn it into an RFK thing, but I did think it was interesting for him to be asked that question.
Totally agree. It's super interesting. Well, let me pull up here. I know I saved something here. Let me pull up what we're going to really focus on. Today. What the heck? This was an ad I did not want to share. What I meant to pull up was Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Okay. All right. I just have to start off, Jarrett, by saying that I covered this on my own channel at the beginning when Blake's lawsuit dropped, and we didn't really see much else just yet, right? Well, I mean, I was pretty pro Blake at the beginning because of what I saw, but I didn't really post about it on social. I wanted to kind of let it all play out, blah blah blah. I then saw Justin's timeline the other day, and I felt like, wow, my eyes are opening. I don't know if it's just me. And then I posted something that I thought was pretty just cut and dry. Like, this is what he said. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. And here I get attacked by people saying, I believe all women. You are the problem. You are the misogynist. And I'm just like, wait, what? How can I never, not just me, but how can you never win here? It's like, first I'm pro Blake and everybody's shitting all over me. Then I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Justin makes some good points. And everyone's like, you don't support women. And I'm just like, you know what? I can't take it. Like, it makes you not want to say your opinion sometimes. But
I agree. I think no matter what, look, a comment on the credibility of the allegations of Blake Lively is not a commentary on all women. First of all, I mean,
thank you.
This is a lawsuit. Okay. First and foremost, like, I looked at it this way. One of the shows, and you and I do news shows, 2 nights ago asked me to come on and do a Blake, if I would look at this from a pro Blake Lively, or at least look at the pro Blake Lively aspect of this. And so I did kind of I was looking at it objectively, and I would come on a show and I would say, if you're looking at this from a pro Blake, I would come out and say it, here's the problem. Okay. We're being played here. We're being played by managers of reputations. You have individuals that were hired by Baldoni to respond to the onslaught of accusations that were coming from Reynolds and Lively. Okay. Their job it's to manage our response to this thing. That's their job. Okay. It's to bot post and plant stories and all these things with the hope that the Twitter world and the X world and the internet world reacts to their manipulation. That's not what happened here. What happened here was the internet woke up and looked at old footage, looked at old documentation, and is saying, hey, look, Blake, you're entitled to make these claims, but we're going to test the veracity of these claims. We're not just going to blindly believe you. And since that has started, you are seeing a lot more things coming back at Blake Lively. Not favorable. And Ryan.
Right. Okay, but do you mean legally, or like just in general, like in the public, like how she's behaved? Or are you talking like things that Justin has put forth or alleged in his lawsuit or his claim?
I mean both. So the way he's responded, I feel like I'm slow when you have that picture up for some reason.
Here, sorry, I'll take it down. I can't, I need like Dizzy. I need your help. How do I make everything smaller? See, it's like so annoying, this format. I just don't understand how to keep the picture up.
Back. Okay.
But I like the picture. I like the whatever. Okay.
So here's the thing. I think, so your question was, do I think this is blown back on Blake legally or in the court of public opinion? I think both. I think that Baldoni's lawyers have done a really good job of taking apart Lively's claims with actual text messages. Like, that complaint reads like a novel. And when you're doing that, they make a compelling case in their own lawsuit and in the lawsuit against the New York Times. So here's the thing. The truth is finding them on the internet, and the truth will find them in that courtroom. She's made very specific allegations. If true, would be harassment. So don't mistake what I'm saying. If Blake Lively can prove what she said, which she will be required to do in a courtroom, it's harassment. It's a problem. If she's not being truthful and Baldoni can discredit those things, that's not great for her, and it will cost her the case. Here's the other thing. Did you listen to the voicemail, the 2:00 in the morning voicemail?
So yes, and actually I should tell the chat that Jack Fox and I are going to be doing a live on that voicemail tomorrow. I'll set that up later.
That, like,
yeah,
all
go
right.
ahead. It's
You and I know each other for some time, right?
Yeah.
We work together. We have things going on in the true crime world. And I'd imagine these folks spent, and I'm in Pennsylvania, you're in New York, right? So occasionally I get out there. These folks spend months together, right? They're on this movie set. That voicemail did not sound like someone who had a friendship or a comfort level with her at all. It was like he was selling himself to her.
He was scared, Jarrett. He was scared, it sounded like.
And that's part of it too. So, like, I don't know. Like, I think when people are friends and they're professionals and they work together, you would agree there's a cadence in their communication, right? I know I could tell Lauren certain things. You'd know I'm being serious or I'm kidding around.
Yes.
That guy sounded like he was repairing something that was very broken and was, like you said, afraid and continuing to sell himself to her. And then I don't know. It was cringy.
Wait, Jerry, you're stealing Jackson. You're stealing Jack's analysis, he says, for tomorrow.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I listen, I pale in comparison to your ability, but
no, this is good because you're right. And this is where I guess it should come into play here, that it really did seem like Blake was, and I think someone in the chat said this, Blake was trying to take over the rights for the movie. And I don't necessarily think it was Blake's idea. I have a lot of thoughts on this where I think Ryan Reynolds played a big role in this. I also think, it wouldn't be rare, I guess, for Blake to catch some weird feelings during this. Maybe Justin did not respond the way she wanted him to. She had some guilt at home. So maybe she said a few things exaggerating to her husband. And he's like, well, wait, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that could also be a possibility here. But I guess I can't ignore the fact, all of the issues about the movie and the rewrites that she was doing when, she was a producer, she had a producer credit, but this wasn't her movie.
Here's the other thing. You talk about, like, they'll say, oh, it was a movie. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars here and a sequel and rights to move forward and your reputation moving forward. Like, this is a big business deal. I mean, huge. Hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. And you can't ignore the fact that it's a business. The other thing I don't want to steal any more material from your conversation. So one or two things I gleaned from that voicemail. Either Baldoni is odd and that's how he talks, or he was navigating a landmine field not to offend Blake because she is either easily offended or he has already, tripped a landmine with her. That's what I got from that message.
He did. If you read through I think it was in the timeline that he posted, he actually says he's got to have all these conversations with her. And he says, I'm effing terrified. He texts that to one of his producers before he has to speak with her about stuff. So I guess what I am confused about is this came out, when this whole thing dropped, it was all about sexual harassment. Okay. I truly, again, I wasn't there. I wasn't on this movie set. I know that a lot of these texts can be taken out of context. I didn't see any type of sexual harassment. I didn't see any, but I felt like when Blake dropped her lawsuit, she would refer to witnesses. So there were people that perhaps were there for some of it. And then additionally, the whole cast and crew appeared to be siding with her during all of the press, all of this and all of that, which could very well be, okay, who am I going to side with, this no-name guy or Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, who are best friends with Taylor Swift, and they seemingly rule the world. So I think there's a lot of different aspects there, but I truly cannot ignore the fact that it looks like Blake and Ryan were trying to take over this movie. And Jack, don't worry. Everybody will still be there, okay? Because you were going to break it down word by word. And Jared,
absolutely.
Also, what you said also, like the way he talks, if you listen to that voice memo that was saved too, it's either like he talks like a man bun wearing douchebag. And I'm sorry for anyone that has man buns, no disrespect, but he talks like that either on purpose because knows he's going to be heard at some point, or like that's the way he talks. Cannot figure it out.
Well, and again, they're very much worried about the management of their reputations, okay, and how they're perceived. So everything, and by there, I mean people in that industry generally, right? And clearly, Blake Lively is somebody, whether or not she's telling the truth, that is very concerned about her reputation and how she's perceived. So is Ryan Reynolds, and so is Justin Baldoni. So when you take that, when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, how much reputation management is really going on here, and how much truth are we seeing?
Yeah, and I wanted to pull this up because it does start with Justin emailing Colleen Hoover, who now has seemingly taken herself out of this equation, Jarrett. Right? She deleted her Instagram. She hasn't making any further comments, although she did appear to support Blake Lively at the beginning. But could Colleen Hoover be like all of us? Did she not have all of the information? I'm not sure. So, he writes to Colleen, whatever. And then she says, you are the right person to make this movie. So I think that is pretty big. Right there, we know that Colleen Hoover wanted Baldoni not only to make this movie, but then she suggests that he should also play Ryle. Then he, talks about doing all this work. And listen, he kind of makes me sick as this wannabe feminist. I'm not trying to, insult him if he actually is. I was kind of rubbed the wrong way by this. But again, this all seems to make sense in the fact that this was his movie, his rights, and Blake and Ryan, as you go forward through this timeline, they really seem to want to take over. Blake wants to be more and more involved. And then soon enough, he's just cut out of decisions, which is not right for a producer, director. It's his film company. So, and then Dizzy, yes, this is his narrative. I think, but the thing is, I think we've seen Blake's at the beginning with her lawsuit, which is why I was like, oh, wow, I'm Team Blake. This is horrific. And now I'm looking at this. And I think from a business perspective, right, I am Team Justin. But yeah, I don't know what he said to her behind closed doors. I don't know. It's hard to really go there if you don't have all of the information.
One of the things I wonder, though, think about this, right? The movie's done. The movie comes out. It's well received. It does fine. They move on, right? No one is going to remember the fact that Justin wasn't at the premieres or he was in the basement. Like, this thing was done, all right?
Yeah.
The world has an attention span of about half a second. Why then does Blake Lively move in this direction and file this lawsuit? One would say she believes her reputation was damaged when this movie premiered and she looked like she had frozen Justin out. But realistically, when you file a lawsuit like that, sure, you're going to get the press they got right before Christmas, but Justin's going to respond. He has text messages. Why go down that road if you don't truly believe in the strength of your case or believe you were wronged? That's the other side of the coin. I look at this from Blake Lively's standpoint and I say, well, she knew they could have moved on. She knew my theory of this case is going to be tested. Records are going to be subpoenaed. Text messages are going to come out. And she pursued it anyway. Is that a business ploy, or is that someone who truly believes they were wronged and wants to have their day in court? I got to say, that's a big decision, especially with people whose reputations are so important in their positions and jobs and related to how much money they could earn in the next film, whatever it is.
Yeah. I want to go through some of these comments because I'm enjoying them. And this is so funny. Afton, I just want to say that I came out of the gate swinging. Justin Baldoni is disgusting. I was like, no, in my view, I only needed to see what Blake saw. And I was like, yeah, okay. But like I said, I've since kind of taken a step back and I'm like, wait, we all don't know the full scope of this, but something else you said is what we always say, multiple things can be true. It's possible
Very
there was
true.
harassment and that she was shady. Now, going back to this executive producer comment, and Karen, you said something here too. So I have some experience in working in entertainment. And yes, so a producer title is generally given when you give money to the movie. And if you give a specific amount of money, you could be known as an executive producer. Then you work it out with the showrunners and the production company on whether or not your executive producer title holds any weight in the editing room, in the writing room, all of that stuff. Now, in the industry, generally, they don't want that for anyone. They want to do what they want to do. They want your money and they want you to get out of the way, and they want to pay you back the money that you've earned. They don't want your creative input. However, this is Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds we're talking about. I'm sure they didn't have to fight too hard to say, okay, we want some input. But my whole point here is sometimes, not all the time, but in the situations that I've been in and where I've worked in entertainment, they're like, yeah, take the title. We'll take into consideration what you say, but it's never gone this far with an executive producer rewriting pages, wanting to edit, if that makes sense. If this was any other person besides Blake Lively, wouldn't have happened. It would not have been acceptable at all. Even if it was, let's say, Alec Baldwin, okay, putting in all the money as an executive producer and he wasn't directing it, I don't even think that production company would say, yeah, let me have Baldwin rewrite all these, you know what I mean, and get in the editing room. It wouldn't happen.
Well, and the claim is that she changed the entire movie and changed how it was marketed. So, but again, like that is a lot of what's behind this. But I just think looking at the trajectory of the careers of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and the year they're coming off, or the 2 years they're coming off, like post-COVID, they're the two main movie stars, right? Two of the main movie stars. They're tied into the right people. Ryan Reynolds is entrepreneurial. Why do we go down this road? Why do we initiate this lawsuit? Is it because you want to have more creative direction and want that franchise, or is it because you truly believe you're wronged? My hope is she truly believes she was wronged and has the goods, but you and I both know it's a different world now. The internet is going to hold you accountable. People had cameras. That whole video of those two dancing, where the audio wasn't recorded for the movie, and Blake made very, very specific claims about Justin Baldoni's behavior in that instance. If that's the instance, her claims, now, whether or not his behavior was appropriate in that moment, her claims do not match up with what's on that video. And when you go into court, I'm talking about somebody who stood in front of juries. If what you allege doesn't match with the video, you got problems.
Jarrett, I totally agree with you. And I had to go back and say, wait, was that the exact scene or was there a different scene? And just a disclaimer here, I really appreciate everybody in the chat being super respectful about their differing opinions on this case. And hopefully we're discussing this respectfully. And just, Terry, one thing, I totally understand. There's nothing been said about Lively giving any money, just took over the budget. I totally get it. I'm just saying, in my experience and in most experiences in making movies, the executive producer is somebody who gives money, or just to get their name on the screen, whatever. But yeah, that one scene, you're so right. I was like, wait. And also, like, I thought she was funny. I think she's really funny. I've always thought that her sense of humor is funny. It reminds me of my sense of humor. So something that I had a problem with is like the fact that we're dragging her for, and don't get me wrong, that one interview where she says, "Congrats on your little bump." That was awful. But we're dragging her for interviews she did when she was like 17 years old. And I think that's so unfair. I was such a dipshit. I don't even want to know what I said at 17. And yet this girl, we've got to blast what she said all over the internet. I mean, it's strange.
They live in a very superficial world. They just do. And it's the rules that apply there. And I'm watching this. and also she's a young mom. She's being judged like clearly she's in the part of her life where she's having babies. She then has to be sexy for the world. There's some issues back and forth with discussions with her and Baldoni with that. I mean, which is a weird conversation to have with him, I think. But that stuff's not easy. I mean, I couldn't imagine what that would be like, where everyone's looking, everyone's judging. It's a tough world to navigate. But they're in a different world now, Lauren. They're in court world now, which
So Jarrett, what do you think as an attorney here, putting up your client's, I guess, side? And by the way, like this website is like that of 1995. It's very plain. It doesn't say their names anywhere, but it only has Justin's side of events here. So what do you make of that? Would this hurt him in any way in court?
Well, one of the big things was so there's a website being operated by Baldoni's counsel, and they're getting their side out through this website. And this week, both parties were in court in New York, and the judge refused to issue a gag order. So people perceive that as a win for Baldoni. Here's the thing. I've had cases that had intense media scrutiny and there was no gag order issued because despite a gag order, there are rules of professional conduct that govern the behavior of lawyers. If Baldoni's lawyers violate those rules with their website or with their statements, they could be held accountable for their licenses, or they could be brought back in front of this very judge who warned them, like, you are professionals. I expect you to conduct yourself professionally. I'm not going to gag you. So let's say this. They operate in a world where they are confined by rules that govern lawyers. Whether or not he's crossed the line with this website, again, I don't like this. You file a lawsuit, try it in front of the jury. Why do you need to put your case on a website in front of the world? Because you're managing your client's reputation. And it's like this. Focus. Your lawyers should be focused on the case in front of the jury, not the case that they're presenting to the world. I'm sorry. That's just what I think. No,
I agree. And I said this and I got destroyed on TikTok the other day because I've tried to take the pro Blake stance here again, just from the perspective that I wouldn't want my text messages out there. I wouldn't want my, I don't know. But then again, trying to separate the whole her trying to take over this movie with her husband, it's tough. I'm trying to separate those two things. But however, I said on a TikTok just out loud, I'm like, do you think that Blake and Ryan just have some kind of bombshell here that they're waiting to drop and that they're just trying to, I don't know, be a little bit more legally strategic about this rather than just winning over the public? If that makes sense. I mean,
well, if they have a bombshell, they would have dropped it in the complaint. There's no sense in holding back. It's not so they get nothing out of that. So if they have the bombshell, the thought is that they filed this lawsuit, got it. Well, it originated out west with this ethics filing with the state. And then that it got leaked to the New York Times, which resulted in a lawsuit of their own. But so here's the thinking. You lead with your best self, like you lead with your best case. Why would you hold back? Everything she's alleged, whether or not she has evidence to support it, if there's a bombshell, it's in that complaint. There's no strategic reason. Like there's no more leverage. And this isn't about, if it was truly about money, that bombshell evidence, if it existed, would have been sent to Baldoni's lawyers and they say, look, we're going to file this unless you assign creative control to us or X amount of dollars to us. That ship appears to have sailed. They filed the complaint. So I don't think there's a bombshell. I think they put their best stuff in the complaint, and Baldoni's lawyers are doing their job at responding. And his attorney, I did see the interview with Megyn Kelly, very strong. He actually represented Megyn Kelly, I believe, too, in her case.
Ryan Friedman did?
Yes. So I look, he's strong. I watched, I was like, man, that was pretty telling. I couldn't wait to see the complaint. It's there. I don't necessarily agree with then operating a website in support of your case either, though.
You don't agree with that. Okay.
No, I don't necessarily like go.
Yeah.
I said go prove it in court.
Yeah, no, it is kind of weird, right? And it's just to point out, Brian Friedman also represents Perez Hilton, the gossip blogger, and he also represents the family members of the Menendez brothers, the Vandermolens, and some of the Andersons. So he is very high profile, I would say. And yeah, I guess like that was a big thing for me too. Why make a website here? And just to go back, I have to share this with everybody because I knew the smear campaigns were real, or these type of campaigns, but like during the Karen Reed, and it's still going on, people have accused other people of being paid by the Commonwealth or paid by the defense. And in this instance, everyone's saying, well, there's a smear campaign against Blake and they're paying content creators. And I was like, that just doesn't happen. Well, I actually got an email the other day, and I'm actually fine with this because I know how I stand in this case, but it was a PR company that works for the family of the Menendez brothers, and they were willing to pay a lot of money to create content around certain verbiage before the resentencing hearing. But there was all of this criteria, Jarrett, that you had to say, and then you had to like upload your video, you have to get it approved, you have to, and like I was okay with it, but what they actually pointed out were a couple things that I was not aware of. And I haven't done any of this content yet. And listen, I would do it because I believe that the Menendez brothers deserve a resentencing hearing. But everything that you see out there from certain content creators, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, man, why are they still going? Why are they still honing in on this narrative? Well, because chances are they are paid to do that. So, and this person like emails me because I haven't done it. She emails me a lot and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it, but I believe in it. So if I'm going to make the content anyway, sure, I'll get paid for it. I have no problem with it.
In response to that, we're being played here. Like I encourage people to do their own research and make their minds up for them. You got to be careful. Like, and again, I don't know Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. I don't know Justin Baldoni. All I could tell you is if I read a text in a complaint, I'm going to assume it's not fake. I'm going to assume I don't have all the context, but I'm going to make up my own mind as I read these pleadings on both sides. And I try not, and the word here is, are they tainting the jury pool? Is the information that's coming out ahead of the trial so prejudicial one way or another that no fair trial could be conducted in any of these proceedings? And it's a legitimate fear, but I could tell you this: if you ask if you ask 5 people on the street, one of them is going to know about this situation. The other 4 aren't going to have any clue who Justin Baldoni is. So
you're so right.
I think, and that's not a slight at him. It's just people go on with their lives, and you'll be able to see the jury. But that's really the fear: is like, are you putting things out there that is so damning and so prejudicial one way or another, it will impact a trial's ability to be fair? And lawyers got to understand. I mean, like, we are obligated. But I did see Dizzy said there may have been a gag order in one of the written orders that came out yesterday. To me, even if there's a gag order, though, Lauren, and this is important, and we saw this in President Trump's criminal trial, he danced within the gag order and sometimes violated it. But there are certain things you could still say. You can say procedural things that are going on. You can forecast some things. You could say, I'm going to file this. There are guardrails in place. Even if there's a gag order, you're not prohibited from making any comment. You can, and I've said things that were beyond the pale as a prosecutor. As a prosecutor in particular, we are really confined to what we can say. And I know there were times like I'm coming out of an arraignment or something, or we just caught these bad guys that killed somebody, and I'm like charged up and the media's there, and you say something that may be a little beyond the pale of what you should have said. So sometimes you're emotionally driven in these things too. So
I want to point out just this comment here. Totally get it. Her side was out to the public, destroying his reputation. Was he supposed to leave that as the public narrative until March 26th? I get that also because just throwing kids into the mix, when you have children and your children are of school age, they still have to go to school, most likely thinking of what their parents told them about, so-and-so's dad, Justin Baldoni, or whatever it is. So yeah, I get why you have to fight back here. And then Afton had said something, wait, I'm confused. Did she do something else besides file the lawsuit? And that's where the New York Times piece comes in. Now, if anyone listens to Candace Owens, she's very pro-Justin and she has all of this research behind it. But what Candace Owens has alleged was that the New York Times, she reminded us that they are responsible for the Me Too movement. And the head of the Me Too movement really was Ronan Farrow. And, Megan Twohey, who wrote the article about Blake Lively, and another woman, I'm blanking on her name. If anyone knows it, you can throw it in the chat. But Candace Owens was like, why would they stoop to this level? Pulitzer Prize winning authors, why would they write this silly piece on Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni? It doesn't make sense. And then she revealed that there is a relationship between Ronan Farrow and Taylor Swift. And a lot of people believe that in Justin's timeline or complaint, whatever, that this mega celebrity who was at Blake and Ryan's apartment when she showed them the rewrites of certain pages, they had this mega celebrity say, oh yeah, aren't the pages so good? Blah, 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 blah. So point is, Justin's side is kind of alleging that this New York Times piece was put together because Blake had someone on her team kind of nudge the New York Times. So, but isn't that what you do when you have connections and you're powerful? I hate to say it, but anybody would have done the same thing if they were in Blake Lively's position, I feel like, and they were about to drop this, and anyone would do the same thing in Justin's position, right? You want to
right. Well, again, that's part of we're getting played. So first of all, that mega celebrity is very popular in my house, just like the Stanley Cups. But so I don't want to say anything about her. But this whole thing comes certainly, and I think Baldoni's lawyers are cutting out the middleman by putting up his own website because he's saying, I'll just show you what I have. You make your own mind up. Although Baldoni had a reputational management company working with him, whether or not they were employed.
That's what Afton's saying. He did. He hired Johnny Depp's PR crisis team. But what the narrative is now is that he was doing this because he knew that Blake and Ryan were trying to take over and going to have this awful narrative. That's where it's it's damning on both sides. Why hire a team to quote unquote take her down, right? But also why were they coming after him so hard?
Not to be cynical, everybody in this lawsuit's going to end up wealthier after it's over. Justin Baldoni's a household name.
I don't get what they want.
It's hard to tell, but the reality is Justin Baldoni is now essentially, I hate to say a household name because I just said 1 in 5 people would know who he is, but he's certainly, I would say, gone up many, many points in his popularity level, and that's a fact. He's just, I never knew who he was until this, and now I find that I've looked into what kind of work does he have? What is he associated with? He has this podcast. He's got this. I certainly knew who Blake Lively was, and I certainly know who Ryan Reynolds is. As popular as that mega celebrity, Deadpool's also very popular in my house. So you have this. But here's what I'm saying. But we're being played. You have these court cases, and then you have this tornado of smear campaigns and reputation management companies and crisis teams. Mm-hmm. That's what you got to watch out for. That to me is and you just said it. There's individuals that pay content creators to be biased. So you may be watching something, consuming something. Yep. Candace Owens is sharp. I watch Candace Owens. She's sharp, right? So let's say, and I'm looking at coming up with a pro Blake Lively argument the other night, and I'm finding all this Candace Owens stuff, and Megan, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say?
Well, and that's what's also bothering me is I feel like when I put it on Facebook or when I put it somewhere else, I have, and I lean towards, oh, Justin makes a good point here. I feel like all of a sudden, Jarrett, it's gotten political, where all of a sudden I am the Megyn Kelly and the Candace Owens, and everyone coming at me saying believe all women are, from the other political side. And I'm just like, what? I guess it's kind of like, why can't multiple things be true? Why does it have to be so black and white? Also, if we're giving Blake the benefit of the doubt and the fact that, oh, well, it's annoying. Why can't we give him the benefit of the doubt as well? People have said you're taking these text messages out of context. I'm like, well, Blake also took them out of context. So why can't I just give everybody an equal opportunity here to, I don't know. It's messy. It's very messy.
Remember that meme of whether or not the dress was purple, blue, or black? Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, that's this case. That's absolutely this case. It's like you can look at it and and everybody certainly has the right to their opinion. Who the hell knows what the truth is? Okay. Yeah. But this believe all women, like, for example, and again, that to me eliminates the need for due process. That doesn't mean, to me, empower women, encourage women to come forward if they feel like they've been wrong. Yeah. But to blindly believe all men or women, to me, as a prosecutor, is not very responsible in meting out justice. I mean, it just doesn't work that way, And I think what people are saying is, I think what's behind that statement is women are speaking their truth. They're finding their voice. I get all that. And I think that's great. And I've represented women in situations like that. And I've fought for victims like that. But to come in and say, believe all women blanketly or believe all men, that's not responsible from a professional in this business, or quite frankly, anyone. It's just not the way you want to operate.
No, I agree. Totally agree. And I guess it's just hard because this all first surfaced as a sexual harassment lawsuit. And my biggest thing here is like, the sexual harassment to me has been lost. I don't necessarily see it from what I've seen in either text messages between Blake and Justin or between Justin and his team. I don't see anything like that. So, and then again, that video clip that we saw, I mean, it's really hard to see the sexual harassment there if it's going to be tangible. However, I don't know what happened behind closed doors on set. I don't know what this driver saw when the driver said to Blake Lively, "Oh, you shouldn't be alone with him." I mean, right? There's all of these different things. I have no freaking idea. But again, what I do know is I see text messages from Blake being like, "Oh yeah, I'm pumping in my trailer. Come on in." Fine. When I was a mother pumping, I don't want you to see my nipples being pulled and put, like, that's disgusting. Like, I don't know, maybe she's covered, but it's just like, I don't know. I'm not really into that, but she's cool with it. So I'm not shaming anyone. I'm just trying to, I guess, figure out what the motive of this lawsuit is. If it's sexual harassment, I don't necessarily see it on paper. That's all.
It does not appear that one side has proven their case 100% thus far. I mean, and that doesn't mean he hasn't done things that cross the line, and it doesn't mean she will be unable to do that. I just think, but I just am left with, and I hope I'm making the point properly. Why bring this if assume for a moment Blake Lively did not feel that way, and none of what she's saying is true for sake of argument. Okay. Why bring this? Why subject yourself and your husband to that kind of scrutiny, the court system? I just don't know what could be behind that. I'm lost to try to figure that out.
I mean, this goes back to my feeling that it was Ryan Reynolds' idea. I really think that, oh my gosh. And so, wait, it's so funny, Karen, you just wrote Ryan Reynolds' ego. This is how I feel. I kind of said this, but I'm saying this baselessly with no proof. I just felt like Ryan Reynolds has always had a questionable reputation. I mean, TJ Miller came out after Deadpool and said it was totally awful to work with him. That's one person's opinion. But I kind of felt that where, listen, I am my own person. Your wife is a powerful woman. She doesn't need you to do her bidding for her, right? I think I might be a little horrified, Jarrett, if my husband was texting you and trying to control. I don't know. It's weird, right? If my husband's like, hey, Jarrett, maybe you guys should do this for the show, blah, blah, blah. You'd be like, cool, I'll just talk to Lauren about that. Why are you texting?
Well, even if we did things together, which we certainly have, like even if we do things jointly, business or like philanthropic, whatever, I certainly respect her autonomy and opinion. And if she feels the way differently than me, great. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, not knowing them, and the Ryan Reynolds piece of this is a lot of that is speculation. It's hard to tell at this point.
Right.
But I don't know. I think we do a really crazy job in this country of raising people up, holding them up, attributing all these personality traits to them, and then blowing that up eventually. And I think that's some of what's going on here.
Yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to say that was tangible, it is about the intimacy coordinator, which I think is right there, totally played out for everybody, where she said she felt uncomfortable because there wasn't an intimacy coordinator, but he gave her ample opportunity to meet with this person. She said, don't worry, we can meet with them right before we shoot. But he said he was so just uncomfortable about giving her these certain notes. He said that. And so I was like, ooh, this is the context I kind of needed here. So, Jack, you're sorry. I'm just reading this. Okay, that was for a different case, by the way. And like he said, it was all in the name of work. I don't send X-rated content for no reason. So, okay, just kidding. Anyway, but you know what I'm saying, right?
That interview with him is going to be pretty high rated at this point. Now you're talking. So.
Wait, this is so okay. Now we're getting into honest opinion. Ryan's gay. Interesting. Listen. Could be the Roman Empire out there these days with Diddy. You never know, right? It's not gay, okay? Run for justice. He just likes having sex with men. No, just kidding. Okay, Karen, wait. I'm going to the chat. I asked this too. What made him feel the need to save these messages, save these memos, save my phone? I don't know if it's me, but my phone is so screwed. I have texts that disappear. I didn't do anything. I have people's phone numbers that disappear. It's a thing. It's really bad. But
well,
anyway.
that's a good question. It's like, were their backs up? Did they know this day was coming? And yes, there were problems on set where there was a push and pull on these issues before it got really bad. He had assured her he was going to make some changes, apologize. Of course, they're saying he says he apologized to bring her back and finish the movie, but they knew a storm was potentially brewing here. And when you know that, your lawyers are going to say, save everything, make sure, because if this comes out later, you're going to need to substantiate what you're saying.
This is a really good point, you guys. Hopefully you all caught that. This was happening early. Justin's lawyers, his team, they said, save everything because something.
The crisis team was in place before the lawsuit, so he knew this was coming, and then so assumed it was happening before. And like obviously that email you put up with the authors from 2019, you're going to save emails leading up to a multi-million-dollar business deal. But
my emails don't disappear. Do yours? My emails are fine. Yeah. Okay. So
they're archived. They're archived, but it's amazing because you end up. I mean, I have hundreds of thousands of emails that have been archived on our system, and they're attorney-client privilege protected and things of that nature. And then at the same time, I have a system where I save them off that program too, because obviously our correspondence is part of whatever we have going on with a client. But so, and again, they're business professionals too. I know they're actors and actresses, but they're going to save those chains of communication.
Right. God. Yeah. I guess we all don't know the truth, but the truth will come out. And I think it's just multifaceted here. And I'm just like, I don't know. I look at it's so funny because I just look at my coverage and people who think that they know me and they know it's like on TikTok, I'm getting dragged for being pro Blake. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm getting dragged for being pro Justin. I'm kind of like, guys, just look at the whole scope here. I'm trying to see both sides. Leave me alone.
Politically, I'm a Jarrett-crat, and on the Blake Justin situation, I'm on Team Jarrett, which is open-minded and calling bullshit when I see it. So,
wow,
anybody watching this is like, nah. Here's what the one thing, and I did martial arts and things. And they would say, in the ring, the truth will find you, right? In the courtroom, the truth will find you. So we got to stay tuned and see where it goes.
But can you just go and like stand against the wall, face the wall in the corner for calling yourself a gerecrat? Because that might be the silliest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and you need to be punished for that. So
it's like a political party of one, like my personal beliefs. Some of them are that's right.
Sorry. Okay, I'm done. I did the voice for Sal, but it's funny. It's been almost an hour. We haven't gotten to Diddy or Kansas Moms yet, but before we get there, can everybody just please make sure, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to Primetime Crime Show and Pop Crime TV, both channels. And wow, look at this. You are getting all of the support here. Everybody is with you. I guess you don't have to stand in the corner. So,
well, right. In a world where everybody's being pushed to the left or to the right, join the Democratic.
Join the Party. No, I'm sorry.
So anyway, like and subscribe to the other page too, because we're going to start putting up some individual content when I have something going on. Because Lauren is super busy managing Pop Crime and Primetime Crime. It's like when we could get together and do something, which I love doing, but I'll make sure we start putting some stuff up on there.
Yes,
too.
Jared.
And we're growing in leaps and bounds, and I see on everything, which is tremendous. And, But by the way, Saturday night on Oxygen is my first episode of New York Homicide. So check it out.
Saturday night. Got it.
Saturday night on Oxygen, which I have Oxygen through YouTube TV. Wherever you have Oxygen, check it out. And then February 20th. I saw that. February 20th, Lauren, our friends at Crime Nation, we're on, and it's the Hugo Selinsky case, which is my personal prosecution, a case that is near and dear to my heart, which kind of launched my career in primetime crime. So definitely check those out. I'm proud of the work that you and I do.
We're on next week. I think our Kansas Mom episode is on next week.
Oh, it is?
I think so. They mentioned it was like the 4th week. So I saw it. I will say, I wish we had a little bit more information because it was made, and they updated a bit from the pretrial hearing. I wasn't a part of that edit, but I do wish certain things were added and whatever. But hopefully, to me, all that matters is the family is okay with it, that episode. So hopefully they're okay with it. And I hope more people become aware of the Kansas Mom's story and case, because it is so devastating and so frustrating. And also the fact that it's not adjudicated. And I sent this to you yesterday, and now I think I sent you the filings where Paul Grice has continued or pushed for a continuance for his arraignment to match the day that Tiffany Adams and Tad Cullum are being arraigned, I guess. It didn't really say that they were being arraigned in their dockets, just Paul, but it's essentially not until May. Is that what I said? I think I said it was May.
So you sent me Paul's motion to continue that arraignment. So yeah. What's going on here is they're kicking the can down the street because it's our suspicion, professional opinion, that everybody's pleading out here, but that doesn't happen logistically until the defense attorneys receive everything in discovery, have the opportunity to review it and do their job, continue to advise their clients. And you got to hammer out a written plea deal. These guys are now in different prisons, so you got to get to your client, meet with them. So I would suspect as these dates come closer, if they don't get moved again, you may have the pleas done in May.
You think so?
It's possible, unless they get, and you may have it all. They may all fall on the same day, where like Paul comes in and pleads. But and here's why you would do that, because the families don't have to be drugged back in there over a period of like 4 or 5 different court dates to hear these pleas.
So okay, and I do have sources there, and Jarrett, what I'm being told by some of these sources is that they have not been called. They have not weighed in on any type of deal. I mean, they have no idea what's going on. Is that normal here? I didn't think that was necessarily normal.
I mean, if your sources are immediate family, husbands or children that aren't witnesses,
it's a mother. I mean, it's
yeah. Then obviously she should be informed. My practice, as I've said many times on this show, the last thing I want to do is get a deal and then get lit up on the courthouse steps by a family member who say this isn't justice. I mean, that's the story then, and you could, to me, victims' input on a plea is critical, but it's not everything. I mean, it's not everything. Ultimately, the decision is the prosecutor's, but you don't keep them in the dark. And I have had hundreds, if not thousands, of cases where victims are brought in, you take them through the process, what to expect, and you manage the situation. You know, that I just saw there's a video going viral of a guy attacking a murderer. I saw it on like three different.
So good. I was sorry. I was so happy. I'm sorry.
It was wild.
Satisfying.
Part of victim in keeping victims informed is to do your best to prevent those kind of things. Like, here's what's going to happen in there. Are you going to be okay? All right. Now that doesn't mean I've had 2 riots in the courtroom, but that doesn't mean you're going to be able to prevent every problem. But the goal of keeping people informed is to manage expectations, encourage them to be on board, and to prevent somebody lighting you up on those courtroom steps when it's over. Yeah,
I honestly, I feel for them. I feel like this case is not getting the attention that it deserves. And if you guys, it took me, I will tell you, I'll just be honest, that audio that I put together and I dropped it in there. It took me a long time to write and compile for a couple reasons. Number one, because the custody battle leading up to Veronica and Jillian's murder was so convoluted. There was a lot of people involved. It had gone down for a really long time. That's number one. Number two, I had to be extremely ethical because nobody has been convicted yet. And number three, when I was mentioning certain people that might be or might have played a role in the demise of just the women's lives, the custody case, I really had to be careful. And my goal in this was to, hey, I'm going to give you this name. This is what I think about this, but do your own research. But guys, once they're all convicted, all bets are off. I'm letting loose. I am literally letting loose with some of the other information that I have because it is so disgusting and disturbing. And thank you so much, Afton. I also tried to make it more victim-centered at the beginning. I read a tribute. I read their obituaries because, I mean, as much as, we focus on these criminals because you have to, the why, the what the hell. Like, I just feel like these women, they just don't get enough attention, in my opinion. And they are so missed by their families and their friends. So, anyway, thank you. You guys are so nice. But yeah, Jarrett, so you just think at this point, plea deals are imminent, and even for Tad?
Yes, because no one's withdrawn their waiver of the speedy trial. It just seems like the train's rolling toward that destination, as I see it.
Yes. Okay. And yeah, no, I definitely have. And okay, that's interesting. I think it's awful. I just wanted to go pull up. God, this chat loves Jarrett. I think they want you to be on like hotlawyersmagazine.com.
Oh God, is there such a thing?
I just made that up. I literally made that up. But if anyone knows Hot Lawyers Magazine, I mean, I guess Jarrett could be the next cover. I was trying to find. Sorry. Wait, no one puts Jarrett in the corner. Wait, we do have a merch person. I should send this to them. Oasis said this is a great idea for merch. A Jarrett-crat.
A Jarrett-crat t-shirt would be a good idea for merch.
No, we should
party of one. Yes.
I'm so all over it. Oh my gosh. And then, just to close things out really quickly, there's not much on Diddy here right now. I mean, he was rushed to the hospital. He had like a knee problem or something. But And I think somebody wrote, and I retweeted it, like, is somebody trying to Epstein him? Nah, he's not getting Epstein because he's not going to leak anybody. I just don't think there's going to be these big names involved in Diddy's case. It's just not going to happen like that. But that's my.
I went backwards in Diddy's life. I started looking into the beginnings and the incident with the basketball game, and we were watching the fall of Diddy, and I didn't realize how much it's. You know what it reminded me of? We did a special on the football player that committed the murders. Jeez,
Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron
so
Hernandez.
Good. Yeah,
we did
so
specials on Aaron Hernandez. His name escaped me for a second. Vaccine brain. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But so Aaron Hernandez, like everywhere Aaron Hernandez went, even in his college years, like bodies followed. If you look at Diddy, it's the same way. And like he just kept getting ushered through and bigger despite this trail of bodies behind him. I'm like, this reminds me of Aaron Hernandez.
Wait, that is such a good point, Jarrett. I never thought about that. Oh my goodness. A trail of bodies follows him, yet he continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Right. Oh my gosh, you're right. I mean, and I thought that docuseries was really wonderful. I thought, just knowing the woman who got shot in the face, how she became a target of harassment and bullying because of Diddy and because of his supporters, that was so upsetting to me.
I thought the most powerful interview was, and there was some great stuff, the magazine cover with the angel wings and how he threatened her.
The Vibe.
The Vibe magazine, and how he threatened the journalist and kept her close to him despite the fact that he had threatened her and wanted to be conveyed in that way with the angel. Again, managing his reputation. Were we getting played? Always have to be cognizant of that. These folks that hold themselves out as this defender of women, this and that. We've seen it all before.
And, I mentioned to you that I have done some interviews surrounding that doc, but previously I actually interviewed DeWitt Gilmore. I met him outside of the federal courthouse and we connected and exchanged information. But interviewing Cheyenne Roundtree from Rolling Stone was really helpful because what she just reiterated was something that I think we're all aware of, but we never kind of put it out there. Whereas you see Diddy apologizing for this Cassie video, and his lawyers, his defense attorneys have said in court, listen, that video is horrific. He went to rehab. He went to counseling. He is a changed man. He is changed since then. Everything was, consensual. You guys are going into his bedroom. This is not right. Well, they have women and men who have been coming forward from, let's say, 2018 till now. I mean, so it's kind of like, how changed is he? You've got about a slew of people who actually have proof. These people have journal entries. They have text messages. They have voicemails of him appearing not to be changed. So I guess that defense is going to be out the window.
People like that don't. People capable of that kind of violence don't change. It's that simple. They just don't change. I'm sorry. Yeah. If you're able to boot somebody in the head, a female in the head, and do what he was doing to Cassie on the ground in a hallway, I mean, that was not behind closed doors. Just think about what went on behind closed doors.
Yeah, I know. It's incredibly awful. But anyway, this has been a really great episode, Jarrett. Really fun to dig into Blake and Justin with you. So we will.
I like when the true crime crosses into the entertainment world a little bit. That's good. So
I know it's my favorite actually, because it feels a little bit lighter, I guess. Easier to go to sleep. But like I mentioned to everybody, subscribe to Primetime Crime Show, subscribe to Pop Crime TV. Jarrett will be putting out some more individual content on Primetime Crime. He actually started that channel before I joined him. And so he does have some great episodes that he does himself on Koberger. He's a Koberger expert if you guys want to check those out. And he'll be putting out more content by himself as well as us doing this show. So yeah. So thanks again. And anything we mentioned on this, you know, you can go to my channel to look at the Utah case as I dive into that later. And tomorrow, again, I will be posting and setting up my live with Jack to go over Justin Baldoni's words in the voicemail.
Well, I will be checking that out, and I'm going to go into that Utah case. So let's hope we could talk about that one soon.
Oh, yeah, we should. And Jared, I'll send you some stuff after if you want, like some of the victim impact statement. Just to
absolutely
ruin your day. So, yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jared.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Happening. You're trying to figure out ultimately what is.
It's still a mystery as to why it took them